Comedy clubs.
When I say Mecca, do you think of a holy place or an urban clothing line?
Read his articles, and you hear him on the radio. The Dean Obeidallah Show is on live right here on SiriusXM Progress, channel 127.
And welcome to the show, brothers and sisters of the Resistance, Friday, May 3rd. I hope you're having a good day. I'm Dean Obeidallah, hoping as always to be your MBFF. I'm there. I'll be there all weekend. I'll be there for you. On Twitter, at Dean Obeidallah. I'm hoping you email me, dean@deanofradio.com, or go right now to facebook.com/deanofradio and watch the live feed of the Open. Or later in the third hour of the show, I have some guests in studio. You can watch it there as well. We got a lot to talk about. But first, we need some comedy. Do we not? Seth Meyers had some good jokes about the Bill Barr testimony. Let's hear the first one. Here's on Bill Barr. Seth Meyers on Bill Barr refusing to show up at the House Judiciary Committee yesterday because he's a chicken. Here's clip number one.
So with Barr refusing to show up, Democrats decided to make a show of his cowardice by holding a hearing with an empty chair where Barr would have been sitting. And then immediately after the hearing, Democrats used the opportunity to slam Barr for refusing to show up.
I don't feel that I can trust anything that the Attorney General is saying because I don't know who the Attorney General works for.
Attorney General Bill Barr is now one of the most dangerous men in Washington, D.C.
The so-called Attorney General is abrasive, evasive, and unpersuasive.
Man, this confirms everyone's worst fear. If you don't show up to a party, the people who do are gonna talk about you. In rhyme.
Bill Barr deserves to be decimated for his lying and outrageous performance, which has really brought shame to the Department of Justice, to be blunt. And that's for history to judge. But I think it's pretty clear if you follow our history, what the usually AG does and what Bill Barr does is ridiculous. And then here is Seth Meyers on Senator Kamala Harris destroying Bill Barr. And listen so closely to Senator Harris doing a really effective, calm cross-examination of Bill Barr here. And it's just unbelievable, incredible, and just outrageous that the guy would not remember this. And again, when Bill Barr kept saying, I don't remember things that you should remember, for common sense for all of us says that he's being evasive. He knows the answer. They were very simple things. And here's an example. Here's Seth Meyers, clip number 2, please.
Like when Senator Kamala Harris asked Barr if anyone in the White House had ever asked him to open an investigation into anyone, and Barr clearly did not want to answer the question.
Has the president or anyone at the White House ever asked or suggested that you open an investigation of anyone? Yes or no, please, sir?
The president or anybody else.
Seems you would remember something like that and be able to tell us.
Yeah, but I'm trying to grapple with the word suggest. I mean, there have been discussions of matters out there that they have not asked me to open an investigation, but...
Perhaps they've suggested?
I don't know. I wouldn't say suggest.
Hinted?
I don't know.
Inferred? You don't know. Okay.
If it takes you that long to answer something, the answer is yes. If you go in for your performance review at Chipotle and your boss says, just one last question, Brad, have you ever wrapped your genitals in a tortilla? And Brad says, I'm trying to grapple with the word wrap. The answer is yes. Brad wrapped his in a tortilla. That happened.
Nice job, Senator Harris, and nice job by Seth Meyers using comedy to inform that young audience watching how ridiculous Bill Barr is and how evasive and how a liar he is. And the man should resign. But you know what? Lying is not something seen as a negative to Trump. It's a positive. It's what Trump is about. He expects you to lie. He wants you to be his Roy Cohn and his Michael Cohen and any other person who would lie to defend him at all costs. That's what he'll do. And look, today was a stunning phone call between yesterday between Trump and Vladimir Putin. We found out more about it today when Trump talked about it, and we'll get to that in a little bit. In fact, Malcolm Nance is joining us at the top of the next hour to talk about that and more. But there's something I want to talk about that I find really important, and it's slightly out of the news, although it deals with something that happened in the news this week, but not a headline story. And it really touches on something that I open my show with every day here. And for the last 2 years, it's coming up my 2-year anniversary, and something I opened my show on Insight Channel, where I was there for about a year and a half, and even on the weekends, and it's the offer to be your Muslim friend, or as I call it, your MBFF, your Muslim best friend forever. And You might wonder why I've been doing that. Why do I say that? Why do I go? In fact, I have a new podcast out once a week called I Want to Be Your Muslim Friend. It's a point blank. I Want to Be Your Muslim Friend with Dino Badala. You can check it on iTunes if you're interested or not. But why do I want to do that? Well, viscerally, I mean, just instinctively and intuitively, you understand that, say you have someone who's a friend from a minority group, you get to know that person, you're tend to going to see that minority group in a better light, unless the person you know is a real jerk. But barring that, you're going to like that person a little bit more. Might like their whole group of people more, right? That has been my theory all along. And finally, a new study came out this week of a really well done study that backs up my hypothesis that I've been articulating and playing on for the last few years. It was a new study, new poll came out by the Institute for Social Policy Understanding in partnership with Georgetown University's The Bridge Initiative. And as the study explains, quote, it is striking to note that the biggest improvement in someone's opinion of Muslims results from simply knowing a Muslim. The poll stunningly found, they quantified this, that people who knew a Muslim, their favorable view of Muslims all in general doubled from 21% to 47% among people with a Muslim friend. And if people said they had a good Muslim friend, like an MBFF, as I call it, guess how much it jumped? It jumped to 57%, meaning 30% higher, over 35 points higher, favorable view of all Muslims, not just your Muslim friend, because you have a close Muslim friend. Now, if only I could assign everyone a Muslim friend, this would be perfect. Like the Adopt a Highway program, but adopt a Muslim. You'll get assigned a Muslim. They'll come over. They'll teach you skills like how to haggle over prices. You're going to love it. And you'll learn how to make certain foods. It'll be fun. But there's some interesting things in this study. It found out about which religious groups see Muslims in the most positive and negative light, and which races in this country view Muslims in the most positive light, negative light, or somewhere in between. Now, I'm going to share that with you, and you can try to guess on your own. I'll leave some open things, and I'll fill in the blanks in a second. First of all, what religion in America do you think views Muslims the most? Well, what religion in America do you think has the most Muslim friends? Could be any sect of Christianity or Judaism. What religious group do you think has the biggest percentage of Muslim friends? Here's the answer. 76% of Jewish Americans know a Muslim as a friend. 76%. That eclipses everyone. And 45% of Jews report they have a close Muslim friend. That's the highest percentage of any religion. So given this Muslim-Jewish friendship fest, this new study found, and it's not surprising because consistent with my theory from the beginning of time, is that if you have a Muslim friend, you see Muslims in the most positive light. Well, guess what? Of any faith group in America, Jewish Americans have the most positive view of Muslims at 53%, with only 13% having a negative view. And conversely, American Muslims have almost the identical view of Jewish Americans, a majority having a positive view, and only 10% of Muslims saying they have a negative view of Judaism and Jews in general. Do you want to guess what religious group had the most negative view of Muslims? Come on, you know, it's a group I have an issue with. White evangelicals, not black evangelicals, white evangelicals. Again, to remind people here, Muslims, Jewish Americans, only 13% had a negative view of Muslims. White evangelicals, what percentage has a negative view? 44%. Almost 1 out of every 2 evangelicals don't like the Muslims much. Don't like me and my peoples much. That is by far the worst, by far. Catholics, only 18% had a negative view of Muslims. So that's pretty impressive there. And to fulfill and to further the theory, the religious group with the least amount of Muslim friends are white evangelicals. So it's completely lined up there. What's difficult about white evangelicals, it's really hard to even try to reach out to make that human connection. And I say that as someone who I literally emailed and called Liberty University, Jerry Falwell Jr.'s son university, and he's not got a good record on Muslims. Liberty University, and I offered to go speak there for free. And I told him, I'm not coming to make fun of students. I'm there to just build bridges between Muslim Americans and evangelicals. It was like a year and a half ago. I called, I emailed numerous times, nothing. I even wrote an article for the Daily Beast that went through my whole journey of trying to speak for free. I'm not even trying to get paid. I get paid at other schools to go for free. And they said no. They wouldn't even respond. Nothing. Because they don't want that Muslim counterbalance. They really want it to be that Muslims are the enemy. And if I come there, all of a sudden I'm challenging and disrupting the narrative they've created for their students that Muslims are not part of the American experience. And that is remarkable. So now let's talk about race. What race do you think has the most positive view of Muslims in America? Sorry, I have to drink water for a second because my nose is dripping. Sorry. Here, I drank water. What race do you think has the most positive view of Muslims according to this study? Answer, Hispanics. Hispanics have 51% approval rating or favorable view of Muslims. White people, it's in the 30s, like 33%. So, and they have the highest unfavorable opinion, white people. The Hispanics, the most positive view, 51% favorable to 10% negative. What race do you think has the least negative view of Muslims? I've kind of given it away now, process of elimination. African Americans. Blacks, only 5% of African Americans reported they have a negative view of Muslims. Only 5%. That's nothing. And a big part of that is now studies have shown 1 in 10 African American families in America has a Muslim member as a cousin, a brother, sister, father, mother, because African Americans are 1/3 of the entire Muslim American community, and it's a growing percentage. So that makes all the sense in the world. African Americans know Muslims well, and that's why they only have a 5% negative view. And that's probably because there's probably some Muslim in their family they don't like, to be frank. That's what it comes down to, because it's such a small number. There are a few other takeaways I want to share. And I know the media narrative in America is that somehow Muslims and Jews should not get along, and we have nothing in common, and we somehow hate each other because of our religion. That could not be further from the truth of reality. Politics does play a role. The only thing that separates Muslims and Jews in America is nothing in our faith books, nothing in our scriptures. It is the Middle East conflict, Palestine-Israel conflict. It's the only thing that causes any kind of dissension between our communities, because besides that, there's nothing. We're both minority faiths in this country. We get along really great. And this report also finds other things that we have in common, Muslims and Jews. And it's of all the faith groups of any sect of Christianity, it's Muslims and Jews that are matching up here. Of any religious group in America, what do you think has the lowest approval rating of Donald Trump? Lowest approval rating of Donald Trump of any religious group? The answer, proudly, Muslims. Only 16% of Muslims approve of Donald Trump. And my question is, who the hell are these 16%? What is wrong with you? If you're a Muslim and you approve of Trump, you got to go to therapy. You got self-esteem issues. You hate yourself. There's a lot of screwed up stuff. The next religious group and it's all the sects of Christianity are in this: Catholic, evangelical, the list goes on, Protestant. So of all the other religions with the lowest approval rating of Donald Trump, Jewish Americans, 27%. So we're really close, 16 and 27%. In voting, the two religions that now vote in the last election, most for Democrats, number one, Muslims. 76% of Muslims who voted in 2018 voted for a Democrat. The next group, Jewish Americans. 69% of Jewish Americans voted for a Democrat in the last election. And that's remarkable. Now, obviously, Muslims and Jews have something else in common in the time of Donald Trump. We have both in our faith groups simply for practicing their faith. We just had a terrorist attack, and I call them terrorist attacks, outside of San Diego last week at the Chabad Synagogue in California, outside of San Diego. Obviously, last year, about 6 months ago, in a few days, in 2018, there was a terrorist attack at the Pittsburgh Tree of Life Synagogue. And just a few weeks ago, in New Zealand, a terrorist attack there by another white supremacist against Muslims. And the death toll just went up yesterday to 51 Muslims killed there. That doesn't even include the spike in hate crimes, such as defacing mosques and synagogues, physical attacks on Muslims and Jews, nor does it even include, and I've documented this and written about it, the terrorist attacks plotted against Muslim Americans by white supremacists, often self-avowed Trump supporters, such as the ones in January. 4 guys got arrested in New York State. Trump lovers, white supremacists, plotting to kill Muslims in New York State. Or the 3 self-avowed Trump supporters who were white supremacists sentenced to 25 years to life in Kansas for plotting to kill the Somali Muslims in their community. And a lot of them are mimicking and parroting the words of Donald Trump. So we have this in common. And I think the reason you're seeing such an uptick in Muslims and Jews viewing each other in a favorable light in America is that I've seen firsthand more interfaith work than ever. In fact, I'm involved in more interfaith work than I've been in my life in the last 2 years with Muslims and Jews and even some sects of Christianity. And it's all in our common goal to combat bigotry. And that's what we're at. So when I start every show, Almost every show I say, I want to be your MBFF. I don't even explain it anymore. I used to say, I want to be your Muslim best friend. And my old show, I'd say, hi, I'm Dino Bidala and I want to be your Muslim friend. It's sort of shorthand now. I think people get it. It shows it can work. Now, I'm not naive. I don't think the real bigots or the terrorists who try to kill Muslims and Jews would change their mind if they met one of us. I just don't think for some people you can do that. In fact, I'll give you an example. For my podcast, simply titled, I Want to Be Your Muslim Friend, on Facebook, facebook.com/Dean of Radio, and you can go look at the comments. Some self-professed Trump supporters have gone there to write things to make it clear that I don't know them, that they hate me because I have Muslim in the title. I mean, they've written things like, literally, I don't want a Muslim friend. Never forget 9/11. All Muslims are terrorists and go back to your country, which in my case is New Jersey. But still, the point is, because I'm Muslim, they hate me. It's not that Trump made them hate me. They hated Muslims already. Trump just gave them the guy they needed. The guy saying, I'm going to ban all Muslims. They're like, that guy. Islam hates us. I love that guy. Oh, the guy saying Muslims cheer 9/11? Yeah, I love that too. That's what they like. So there's no games with me when it comes to Donald Trump. What he's done to my community is very documented, as well as the Jewish community. But I would tell you this, excluding these bigots, these extremists, these terrorists, I think we can reach people in America. And we live in a divided country. And maybe in time, and I don't mean now, I'm not going to be MLK now. I love MLK, but in the time of Trump, I think we have to be fierce more than the idea of Kumbaya Fest. I think when Trump is gone, and we push Trumpism back to the margins of society, where it belongs, I think it's a time that we can look at this model of reaching out as much as possible to between other communities that don't know each other. And it's not always just Muslim or Jewish or race. There are sects of Christianity that don't like other sects as well. I mean, there are a lot of evangelical Christians, white ones, who don't like Catholics. That's well documented. I mean, Reverend Jeffers, who's in Trump's inner circle, has called Catholicism a satanic cult. I mean, literally, he said it comes from Satan and it's a cult. I shouldn't call it satanic cult. He said it's spurned from Satan and it's also a cult. Reverend Jeffers is not alone. I mean, evangelicals have been demonizing Catholics and now Muslims for a long time. And perhaps even with race, perhaps we can do this. Yes, it's a small, little by little, step by step, but Bobby Kennedy has a great line I always like, and I'll paraphrase it, that he said, few of us have the power to bend history on our own, and that's true. But each of us can contribute to writing the story of our generation. And I think little things like this do that. Reaching out, meeting people, interfaith work, inter-community work. You are writing the generation's story, the story of this generation. Whatever you want it to be for you and your family and your kids and your grandkids, we can do this. So I want to be hopeful and positive tonight. It's been a hard week. We're fighting Democrats. I'm upset as well as everybody else, got to be honest, with what we saw this week. It's trying, and I want the Democrats to fight harder. But I just want to say now, today, on Friday, May 3rd, when it's a slower news day, just to talk about this topic. And I wrote about it for The Forward, which is a Jewish publication. They're very progressive. I like them very much, and I know the editor well there. And I met her, Batya. I met her on Joey Reid's show about 2 months ago. And she goes, why don't you write some stuff for us? So once in a while I have. And I wrote this article. If you're interested, you can see it on facebook.com/Dean of Radio, or I tweeted out at Dino Bidala on Twitter. And I'm so happy to see both Muslims and Jews and some Christians as well sharing the article and that like the message. But again, this message now, because of this report that came out this week, it's no longer me just anecdotally saying, hey, I want to be your Muslim friend because I'm hoping you're going to like Muslims better. There's been some studies in the past years that have said it, but this brand new one, again, the Institute for Social Policy Understanding, together with Georgetown University, a great study I documented in my article, shows the biggest improvement in someone's opinion of all Muslims results from simply knowing a Muslim. That's why I want to be your MBFF. That's it. There you go, my friends. The secret's out. Then next, Sharia law. I'm sorry, it's coming. But look, let's be friends before that. And then when Sharia comes, we'll all be on the same side. I'll help you with it. Turkey bacon for everybody. Non-alcoholic beer. It's going to be good. You're going to love it. No, that's not going to happen. Trump supporters who are listening going, I knew it. That's what they're about. Then they're going to take our guns and... No, it's not going to happen. All right, let's take a break. I want to hear from you, though. We can talk about anything. It's Friday. If you want to talk about that, I have the audio of Donald Trump today praising and gushing over Vladimir Putin, the man who attacked our election in 2016. Just unreal. And again, Malcolm Nance will be here at the top of the hour. We're going to go through that. Just outrageous. But I'd love to hear from you. 866-997-4748 right here on the Dean Obeidallah Show.
The Dean Obeidallah Show.
Voting is the most important civil right of our era because the right to vote preserves all other rights. It's not the Second Amendment. It's not guns.